Hello, welcome back to another edition of FSI DFS, Major League Baseball coverage. I think the title of today's episode is going to be Bueller or Bats, because we have one pitcher, Walker Bueller, on Draftkings at 10K, which isn't too high priced, is the clear cut top option. And I think DraftKings was fair with his pricing because even though he is the clear cut top option, they do realize that he is going up against the San Diego Padres, who is a decent offense, and that his manager has a short hook sometimes because they have good bullpen. So, he might not go 7 or 8 innings; it might be 5 or 6. But still, it's going to be a conundrum because there are some bad pitchers on the slate too, and some nice stacks that we'd like to take advantage of. But to get both in the lineup is going to be difficult. On FanDuel, it's a little bit different because it's a one pitcher site, and I think you lock Bueller in cash, probably be 75-80% owned, which is fine. You just need to figure out the right bats to differentiate there. So I think let's just break down game by game today, quickly going through. Nice thing is don't have to worry about weather, although there is some wind that could aid some batting today, but it doesn't look like there's going to be any rainouts, and some of the temperatures are still a little bit cool as the nation recovers from the April freeze that we just experienced yesterday and the day before. So, starting with the Red Sox and the Mariners, the slate is a 5-game slate tonight at 7:10. Uh, you have Nick Pivetta on the mound, and Nick Pivetta is kind of polarizing. I just remember years ago when he was on, I believe, the Phillies, he was an up-and-coming pitcher. He's going to be great, and I saw him get lit up a couple times. So I've always liked the stack against him. He gives up a lot of hard contact, but he's against a Mariners team that is good, but not that great on the road. Um, Here, it does look like the wind will be blowing out to right field at about 19, 20 miles per hour. So that would help a little bit. So I think Pivetta could be an option as your SP2, or if you want a little differentiation and take a stand, could be your SP1 in tournaments. But I do like some of the Mariners bats, like Haniger. I think Seager is a great play. He's hitting the ball hard, and I think this is an opportunity with the wind against a fly ball, high contact rate pitcher like Pivetta that he could definitely score some runs. But there are some strikeouts in this lineup too. Marmalades, I think it's not where you have to worry about the splits. Of course, I like Seager with the lefty righty matchup, but Pivetta gives up hard contact to righties just as much. On the other side, I think against Justin Dunn, he's probably the worst pitcher on the slate here. Red Sox have a 5.9 total, which let me just check and see. Yes, it is the highest total on the slate, but their batters on DraftKings are really, really priced up. So if you're gonna try to stack this team, it is going to be difficult with some of the pricing. That's why the title of this video here is Bueller or Bats. So Kiki's reasonable at 4-1, but JD Martinez is definitely, let's see here. Why is that not loading? 6K. Mookie Betts is not on the team anymore. Deaver is at 5.8. Xander at 5.7. There are some high prices that we are looking at on this game. Just incredible. So to try to stack this team with Bueller, I don't know mathematically if it's possible. I haven't tried it yet to see if there's enough sub 3K guys to make it work, but definitely going to be interesting to try to get some of these bats in. I'm not saying you have to completely choose. If you have to pick one or the other, you can sprinkle some of the Red Sox in, but it's going to be hard to get the full stack to take advantage of Dunn as a pitcher. Moving on to Wrigley Field, it looks like some wind blowing out there, 12 miles per hour right now. If it's higher than that, it could be even more of a factor. You got Joey Lucchesi, who is pitching against the Cubs. And generally, we like pitchers against the Cubs because they have such a high rate of strikeouts. But looks Lucchesi is coming back from injury, so I don't know how long he's going to go. 6'5", might be worth the risk there. Trevor Williams on the other side, he does not get strikeouts. he's up against good Mets lineup with the wind. So I don't know if I'm going to even want to consider him there. The bats in the game too. Nemo was off yesterday. I don't know if he was injured or if just resting. But if that moves McNeil back to the top of the lineup again, he's pretty cheap there, although Nemo's only 3.7, so that's nice also. Lindor, Alonso. Seems like Williams gives up hard contact to righties, so I'm not afraid to take the righties here. Alonso is 5K, which is still kind of expensive, but if you're looking for really good stack here, it's cheaper than the Red Sox in a great situation. I think that's one to go with. I'm okay taking some pieces of the Cubs also if the wind is blowing out. I know they've struggled and they've struck out a lot, but I think, I'm not saying in cash, but I think that might be an interesting GPP stack. If Lucchesi's not going to go very long, you got a lot of lefty on. He's a lefty, so the righties come into play. I wouldn't even shy away from Rizzo there too. He's probably not going to be owned with all the other first base options that you have on this slate out there. So some potential there. Next game is the A's in Houston. Houston getting better from COVID. It looks like Alvarez will be back in the lineup now. I haven't heard anything on Altuve yet, so Straw will probably lead off again. They went a little different with the leadoff spot yesterday, and it was like, oh wow, cheap guy leading off, and I don't believe he got a bagel for us. He got a complete 0. So if he leads off again, I'm not going there. So if Straw leads off, I'm definitely interested. Alex Cobb is not a great pitcher. I don't believe he's got a high strikeout rate at all. See, his K rate is 17.8, which is low. The Angels don't strike out at all anyway, so I wouldn't even say that he's really an option. Christian Javier on the other side at 9.6. He's $400 less than Buehler, so he potentially could be someone to go after. I think he can keep the Angels. He's got a decent strikeout rate at 27.2. So, but then again, going back to Cobb, even though he's got a low strikeout rate, I saw the Astros whiffing quite often in Coors yesterday against the Colorado pitcher that came out against them. So who knows on that one, but I don't know. I think I'm straying away from Cobb. Javier, if I want some leverage off of Buehler, maybe I'd take. I know the Angels are a dangerous lineup, but it all depends. See who they roll out. It might be a day where some of these guys are resting. You have to see who Houston rolls out too. So it's gonna be very tough to figure out your SP2 on this. And Javier by no means would be an SP2 just on pricing, but like I said, he might be a pivot off of Buehler if that $400 extra gets you a bat that you want. Speaking of bats, like I can see an Angels stack here. They got a 4.29 run total. I don't think they'll be super popular, but Tani's been doing great. He gets a righty here. Trout, Upton continues to be cheap at 3.3, very reasonable. Walsh has gone down a little bit. He was way up there in the 5s and 5.1. Now he's 4.7. Lefty righty matchup, so like that too. And Pujols has been hitting okay. I prefer him against a lefty, but definitely has some potential there. Look at the Houston side of it. Alvarez back in the lineup. He's a good hitter, but I don't know if there's any rust there, if he was sick from COVID or if he just was part of contract tracing and had a quarantine. Gurriel's been cold. I mean, he hit a home run yesterday. I think Tucker definitely is someone that I'd look at, especially if he gets the leadoff spot against the righty. They put him back up there, and Brantley normally can hit anybody, and Bregman's a good hitter. Correa. So there's some pieces off there that are in the mid 4s that I could see sprinkling in. Next game is San Francisco and Miami. Aaron Sanchez, I think he'll be the chalk SP2 on the slate, even though Miami has hit and has been decent at times. Sanchez he's got a 20% strikeout rate on the season. Miami's not a huge strikeout team, but I think there's an opportunity. It's at Pitcher's Park. Wind blowing out a little bit to left field, but we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Temperatures in the 50s, so it's not like a great hitting environment out there. And the Marlins have a 3.88 total, which is the second lowest on besides the Padres. But again, the Padres are the Padres, so it's just because they're up against Walker Buehler that they're probably so low. So definitely like Sanchez, I think that he is definitely probably in cash if you want to go Buehler Sanchez, or like I said, if that $400 matters to you, you really take the risk on Javier. Other than that, maybe if you make Sanchez your SP1 and try to pair him with somebody low, and San Francisco has a 4.62 total here, which is besides Seattle, which is in San Diego. So if you don't trust Pivetta and you don't care about win equity because you think that most of these pitchers might not get the win, it might be decided in the bullpens, then Castellanos, he's not a strikeout pitcher, but he's only 6.1K. If that works out to pair Sanchez and Castano against one another and just hope it turns into a pitching duel, a very low scoring game, then, if they just get to value and they don't smash and your bats take off, then that gives you a ton of leverage. If the Padres get to Buehler or Seattle gets to Pivetta. So I think I might possibly do that in my GPPs, start with like Sanchez and Castano and just fade the bats in this game. San Francisco usually has a lefty heavy lineup, but they'll run a righty heavy lineup against Castano. So I just kind of worry about them because they mix and match a lot. So Yastrzemski should stay in the game the whole time. But when you have a different righties that you can put in for lefties for righties, it's kind of hard to play San Francisco. And the Marlins, I've been taking Corey Dickerson as a one-off a lot. I think he's been doing good. And Chisholm, he might be back down in the order. He's been hitting up higher last couple of days. I kind of like them. So finally, the highlight game, 10:10 p.m. East Coast. You have Ryan Weathers, who isn't a bad pitcher. He's done well the first couple starts, but he hasn't gone many innings, only like 3 innings. So he does have K upside and some potential, but I don't think he'll be in there that long. And then, of course, Walker Buehler on the other side. So I think, extreme GPP, if you want to really hedge, you take a San Diego stack and hope that their offense is better than Buehler. For the bats, we'll have to see if Mookie's in, but left-handed batter, then a lot of these righties I really like Justin Turner, Will Smith, Chris Taylor seems, he's almost 5K, so it's just getting hard. Pollock towards the bottom, or whoever else they might roll out there. They lose the DH because they're back in National League Park, and the pitcher has to bat. So, they're expensive. Not as expensive as Boston, but some of them are up there. Again, Pollock 3.2. Maybe there's an option there. So, it's definitely going to be an interesting slate. And like I said, if you can figure out pitching wise, if you're willing to come off Buehler, or if you're willing to go down somebody cheap and take a stance on, throwing out Castano there. But if you take Buehler and Sanchez, which would probably be what the chalk options are, you're just going to need to get creative with your bats. You can get pieces in good situations, but you're just going to have to find who those value plays are, and just watch as the lineups come out, because maybe there'll be some surprising, like a 2K guy leading off or something that's decent. But again, like Neus, he seems to be he's at 2K if he's in the lineup for the Dodgers. Dickerson, Frenchie Cordero, even though he hits down in the lineup for Boston, it's usually cheap. Conforto seems too cheap too at 3.5. I know he hasn't had the greatest start to the season, but the talent's there. So he's someone I consider too. And Justin Upton, who I mentioned earlier. So good luck on the slate. And tomorrow looks like we've got a giant slate back at 7:05 p.m. for Friday. So I'm looking forward to breaking that down. If you want some more information, call us at FSI or call us, reach out to us on fsidfs.com on the internet. You can find me at Twitter at megaruler31. So leave us some comments. We love interacting with those and trying to help you guys out. If you have any questions or things that you'd like us to do differently in these videos or to cover, then we're here to help, and we appreciate you watching. So give us a like, recommendation, subscribe to us, and until next time, Mega Ruler out.